Blizzard Entertainment, a gaming juggernaut, has released games such as World of Warcraft and the Diablo franchise. Two franchises that me and DY don't really care about all that much. However, there is one game that was released under Blizzard's name that we do have a fondness for. And that game won Game of the Year at the 2016 Game Awards. But how does Overwatch hold up 10 years later? Let's dive in and find out.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Dysfunctional with DY and Luna. My name is DY.
And my name is Luna.
Welcome to our lovely discussion about Overwatch.
We have a love hate relationship with this game. I think a lot of people do. I'm going to be totally honest. This game has been through a lot of ups and downs, but it's such a massive part of both of our lives that I feel like we couldn't not discuss it.
Yes.
You'll also notice if you're watching the video provided by DIY, we have dressed up as our mains. Feel free to judge us in the comments. It's totally fine. It's totally chill. Let's maybe just get into like the basics on how we found this game and like how we started playing it or why we did. As I mentioned previously, this game originally came out in 2016. It was so massive. It won Game of the Year that year at the Game Awards. It was a really big deal, but I feel like the general populace kind of let it fall to the wayside in the sense that it wasn't everywhere. Like it found its core audience and then it just kind of stuck with that,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily a bad thing. I remember every other YouTuber at the time playing the game because you had to buy it for like 60 ish, like 40 to 60 bucks at the time. And then it just kind of like fell to the wayside for them. It's just like, oh, it's a fun little thing, and then just like never again. And that's fine because as we
It was
we will
definitely a
discuss,
fad.
fad for the general populace, yeah. But clearly not entirely because the game's been going around and still thriving 10 years later. But we did want to talk about how we got into this game, how we heard about it, and why it means so much to us. You've technically been playing this game longer than I have, so you can take the floor.
Yeah. I started back when the game had initially came out. I had been following it from the moment it was announced, and I always thought it was an interesting concept, and then I went out and bought it for myself and played it in 2016 when it came out. And I only played it for about a year because, like Luna had said, pretty much everyone gave up on it after about a year. I stuck around with it for a little bit, but then having no one else to play with, I got kind of bored. Also, this was at a time when the Overwatch community was very, very toxic, and having nobody to play with, you would always get horrible teammates that would just yell at you for the stupidest things. And so I got fed up with that. So I ended my run there, unfortunately, but I came back when Overwatch 2 came out. So I played until midway through season 6, I want to say, right? Whenever the Hanzo Mythic came out.
No, that was 7 actually. Because Orisa was season 8 and then Moira was season 9, so it was season 7. Because that was like Halloween.
Essentially, I stopped playing it again because it was starting to piss me off. The community, they were all horrible. But back in season 15 when loot boxes came back, I came back again, and I've been here ever since.
As for me, I was in a similar boat to do. I heard about it again through YouTubers at the time. So I remember, I think it was around the time, I think it was like a little bit before Anna's release, shortly after the game released. I kept up with it. I found content creators that I still watch today because of Overwatch, even if some of them no longer post Overwatch content anymore. but I never had the means nor the technology to play it at the time. I didn't have a really good computer and I didn't have like an Xbox or like a PlayStation at the time. So I kept up with it. I stayed with it. And then when they announced that Overwatch 2, when it was branded as such, was going free to play, I was so overjoyed because the game that I had followed for so long at that point, I was finally actually able to play on a console that was able to run it and finally get to play these characters that I watched the gameplay for so long and be like, I would be really good at this character, or I would like this play style. I played since day one Overwatch 2 back in 2022, played it day one, played it ever since, but there was definitely a point in time where I thought about quitting because I did not really know anybody else at the time starting that, in 2022. I didn't really have anybody to play with. I was doing it all solo. I would just play to a certain point in the battle pass, and then once that was done, I just didn't care even if I liked some of the other cosmetics in the battle pass. It wasn't until I reunited with some online friends again and met new people, I was at least able to find people that enjoyed this game as much as I did, and it brought in new life. I mean, you can make the argument that me and DY met through Overwatch because both of our mutuals play Overwatch. And I remember they invited you for a group session. It just went from there, and I've been playing it ever since, no matter how frustrating it is to play it at times. Yeah, we're here, and it's been a very long journey. I don't really think we need to talk about like the super nitty gritty of this because most failings, if you want to call it that, the failings of Overwatch have been documented very, very plainly on the internet. It's a quick Google search to figure out why some of these things didn't work. I did want to go over a basic kind of timeline as well as just us seeing the evolution of this game and why, as much as we may hate it at times, we also love it. It's that toxic ex that keeps calling you even though you said you would never talk to them again, but they always bring good pizza. So
Like,
you kind of, and or they have a Netflix account. So, you kind of can't
well, actually, that's
really,
not a thing anymore because Netflix is
that's not even
mean.
a thing. That's right. That's not even a thing anymore either. But you get my point. The like that toxic ex is hella toxic, but they got good privileges. So like you feel bad, but you want to take advantage of those privileges.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I said, I found content creators, some of which do and don't post Overwatch to this day because because of that game, because they played it. And one in particular, she led me to finding what Persona was and finding Persona 5, which if you couldn't tell by the plushie on the top of my shelf, is one of if not like my favorite game of all time. So if it wasn't for Overwatch, I wouldn't have found that game.
Thank goodness for Overwatch.
This game has been through so much turmoil, both in the game and outside forces, that I don't even know like where to start. I guess we just start with like development, I guess, and kind of like how it got to this point.
Yeah.
As we talked about, Overwatch is made by Blizzard, and I had not heard of Blizzard prior to Overwatch. I vaguely heard of them from WoW, from World of Warcraft, but like that's about it. And I know next to nothing about WoW. So I had only vaguely heard about WoW. I didn't really know what Diablo was until like maybe Diablo 3, but especially Diablo 4. When I first saw Overwatch in 2016, I was like, wait, Blizzard? The guys who made WoW? What do they know about having a hero shooter? Which, yeah, Overwatch was my first ever hero shooter because we were not a Call of Duty family in my household. My brother mostly played Halo. That was like the main shooter. His main shooter was Halo. So that's
Which,
more of my
valid.
knowledge. Yeah. But this was during the Xbox 360 era in like late 2000s, early 2010s esque.
Oh boy.
So that was never the greatest in terms of connection, and also 9 times out of 10, he would just bring his friend like, his high school friends over, and they would just play, like, duo matches together. But, yeah, I never really saw a hero shooter to this scale, let alone knew what, like, the genre of it was. And I guess for a lot of quote, unquote, "normies" or people who don't really play a lot of them, Overwatch was, like, the first introduction to that genre, I guess. Because Overwatch was originally the TF2 killer, was the Team Fortress 2 killer. And then they kind of coexist, kinda? Like TF2 still has a very niche community and is still played today, but it has not received updates since like 2017.
TF2 walked so Overwatch could run.
Yeah, very, very much so. And once again, another thing that at the time I barely knew anything about. I barely knew anything about TF2. I just knew
I
it
did play
existed, and that
TF2
was it.
for a little bit.
Oh, did you? Okay. I had seen, like, the character models and stuff like that, and I've seen, like, memes from it at the time, but nothing in terms of, like, gameplay or anything like that. Because, again, you play Overwatch when it was originally released. What are some of your earliest memories from that? Like, you said you only played for, like, roughly a month or something. No, a year. You said you played
A
for, like, a
year.
year. A year.
I'm looking at my profile and it goes up to 2018, so 2 years then. The highlight was the loot boxes, and I miss all of the different versions of the loot boxes because the designs on them were really cool. Like the Halloween one, the Christmas one, the Chinese New Year ones. Those were really well done, and I'm kind of like, I know they brought loot boxes back for this version of Overwatch, but I feel like all they're doing is putting all of the theme skins in the battle pass now, which 90% of the time is not great because what if someone can't get the battle pass and then they miss out on that skin?
Mhm.
Like, for example, a few of the newest characters got Halloween skins, but they were exclusive to the battle pass. The designs of the loot boxes were always so memorable, I feel like. Obviously, they had to get rid of them because some countries started cracking down on gambling, which fair because
Let's go gambling. Ah, dang it. Yeah, dang it in the sense of no, that's illegal in a lot of like European countries.
as
Heavily.
someone who has probably bought like thousands of dollars worth of loot boxes, I can say that it's probably a good thing you can't buy them anymore.
Yeah. Getting stuff in the loot boxes is already gambling as it is, so the fact that you're paying for a skin that you potentially don't like for a character you don't play is like very likely. At least like in the early days. Um
Yeah. But that's also nice
I
though too because if you're a brand new character, you have or a brand new player, I mean, you have absolutely no skins whatsoever because you haven't been playing the game, right? And with the
Mhm,
loot boxes, at least you get some new skins that you can use and play around with. So that is
mhm.
a nice thing about the loot boxes being back. Because how else would people get those skins if they weren't here, right? They would just
Yeah.
be lost in the ether forever.
Were you there for the rebrand? Like, do you remember in 2019 when Jeff Kaplan, rest in peace, he's not dead, but he no longer works there at Blizzard. Don't worry, Jeff, we love you. We hope you're doing well.
I lost my
But
dear husband Edgar.
we're telling everyone I'm dead.
Sometimes I can still hear his voice. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Do
was
you like
there. I was there for the premiere of the trailer with Echo's thing when they were fighting the robot in whatever city it was. I don't
France?
remember.
I think it was France because I remember her having a French, the police or whatever having a French accent. So I think it was
Yeah,
Paris.
maybe. But yeah, I remember that, and then I was like, oh, Overwatch is doing a rebrand. That's weird. Because initially I thought it was like a, you know how games whenever like the popularity dies, they'll make a like a whole brand new game and try to just it's basically the exact same game but updated graphics and whatnot. But
Oh,
it
like a
has
remaster or
it
something.
has a two on the on that's
Yeah.
basically what I thought it was, but then I was like, oh wait, it's actually the game. Having played the game in the past, I was like, you know what? I might as well download it again and see what it's like. And I'm glad that I did because
Mhm,
I don't know. At least I got to experience some of the game again.
mhm. I remember seeing the footage of at BlizzCon, Jeff Kaplan announcing what Overwatch 2 was. And I know this topic on the internet has been talked to death because Jeff and the original team had a vision for it, and then it was completely just gutted. It was gutted because executives higher up hampered with it, and it was just a shit show behind the scenes. And it's sad to see that a creative team that clearly knows what they're doing and they know what game they want to make, but they have so many restrictions despite how successful the game is. Jeff Kaplan has gone on record on a podcast of some kind. I don't remember when it was. It was like earlier this year. And he basically confirmed what we all were thinking, being like, if you don't make X amount of money by like third quarter or whatever, you get chopped, you get axed, you leave this building and you leave this company.
Yep.
Which, if you look back on in hindsight, because this was during in the development for Overwatch 2, because they announced it in 2019 and then it came out in 2022. And in 2020, with the pandemic obviously being a factor in this as well. But they basically said, we're giving you bare minimum updates for Overwatch 1 so we can focus all of our resources on 2, which which is what us in the community call the drought era, the 2 years or so of drought.
Yeah.
And it was not fun from the footage and videos I was watching. Everyone was miserable. Fair enough. But basically Kaplan was almost on his hands and knees being like, Let us just make the game we want." Because the semblance of what was supposed to be would later be used in other facets of the game. And I honestly think that if Jeff was still working at Blizzard, maybe he had his old job back, or maybe he's like a creative director or something, and Aaron Keller, who's the current game director right now. We love you, Aaron. You're doing a good job. um, I feel like I think he would be proud of what the game. It's not his original vision because Overwatch 2 was supposed to have a massive story mode campaign thing, which we all know failed miserably. Um,
That
it's very sad.
which everyone
Uh,
is very angry about.
I mean, rightfully so. That it was painfully generic.
I feel like
Uh,
it stemmed from Archives because Archives was so well done. All the like PvE that went into that, and then they were advertising this brand new version of some sort of PvE, and then it never came to fruition. So everyone was upset about it.
yeah. But yeah, I honestly think that Kaplan, wherever he's at, I think he'd be appreciative and be proud of Aaron for what he's been doing with this because Aaron at the front of this like ship. Kaplan had a lifeboat because he basically said enough was enough, I quit. And I think he had every right to. He was in such a toxic work environment that I think he had every right to quit. But I think he also left Aaron and the rest of the team to fend for themselves in that toxic work environment at the time in like 2021 or whenever he quit. And Aaron has and still does honestly has the like gigantic task of trying to steer a sinking ship to land. And to some people, with the release of PvE and how that failed and how it was originally advertised, it still left a taste in people's mouths that to this day people are still not over. But I think
Mm.
with recent years and recent updates, it brought faith back into the project. Like I like adding perks in season 15, I believe it is, or I believe it was, that added new blood to the game to make it fresh. And they keep switching out perks, they keep changing them. So there's always something new every few months. And again, they're still releasing new heroes and new maps, and that's always fun. And then Spotlight 2026 happened. It's the 10-year anniversary. You and I, we are waiting on the edge of our seat, realizing what the fuck is going to happen. And they drop the biggest bombshell of the year. And as of right now, most of what they talked about has been paying off in strides. And that is such a momentous task because this was the one thing that people were being like, okay, you've been doing good so far. This is your point of redemption. And I think they got that redemption, at least for the majority. There were still some people that were going to be salty about it, being like, it's not Jeff Kaplan's original design. Well, he no longer works there. He hasn't worked there in 5 years. It's now Aaron's project. And this is the way
Plus,
Aaron wants to do it.
the only way for things to evolve is for them to change. So even though it's not the original design, it's still made strides in the gaming community. There's still millions of people that play this game all over the world.
Mhm. And I think that's what a lot of the general public forgets about because yeah, there was a big point in Overwatch 2 specifically when it was branded as such. That lifespan where it was awful to play. And once
Yeah.
again, I can attest to this. Playing up to a certain point and then just forgetting about it the rest of the season and just I don't know, having it be a slog and Overwatch seemingly not making improvements, but when they did, they hit it at the right someone stoked their passion, their fire. Much as I have problems with some of the exterior things and mostly cosmetic things, both in the literal and figurative sense, gameplay wise and actual like physically playing the game, no other external factors, it feels good. It feels nice. It feels as frustrating as it is, but that's just because we're sore losers. At least I am. It it feels good to play. I think the community is in a much better headspace now because now we have other shit to talk about. There's always going to be naysayers talking about the skins and all that, which don't worry, we'll talk about later. But the
Yeah, I
actual
think we're
game and how
planning to
it
do a
feels,
whole
like,
episode about favorite skins and stuff like that. So
yeah,
we can talk
because
about some of that
yeah,
in there.
that's a whole other topic in and of itself. Um, but I think people don't give Aaron enough credit because when that spotlight released earlier this year, I have never seen so many people hyped for this new rebrand, for their new tactics they were using. And again, I saw casual people getting interested in Overwatch again after they abandoned it in like 2017 max, maybe 2018, depending on
I
how
can
early.
I can even attest to this because recently I met someone in the game that started playing because they were interested in a certain character and their lore and stuff. So you know it's a good thing because if even just a simple character can get you into a game, then I feel like that's worth so much.
Hmm. I can even attest to this too. When a different character was released, I fucking cried because I felt represented in that character, in their backstory and where they come from. I had never felt so relieved in being like, my background feels represented in that. And again, I can attest to this. You shush. I was emotional that day. um, like lore wise. And and for a game that so prides itself on its diverse cast.
I think that's another thing that got me into the game because the cast always had so many different walks of life from different countries that I always
Mhm,
found it was interesting because not a lot of games put different lore and different countries in their games. It's always
mhm,
pretty much just 90% of the time they're all from the same place or something.
mhm. It's gotten better over the years. I know Valorant has a lot of backstory for their characters, and they have, like, specific interactions from their place of origin, and that's great.
Yeah.
But Overwatch was really the first that kind of pioneered that because, again, I know TF2 also did it. TF2, I know each of their characters have their own backstory and whatever, but you have to actively seek that out. If you didn't know anything about where these characters and where they came from, the game didn't really tell you. I mean, to
Yeah.
be fair, in the early years, Overwatch didn't either. You had to, pay
Well,
closer attention to the
some of them you
details.
can tell because of the voice actor and the accent that they have.
Well, yeah, I guess. But sometimes,
But
with some games, it just ended like that. Some games was like, oh, this character's Scottish, and that's it. You just can
yeah,
tell by the accent, and nothing else. But with Overwatch, with their Scottish character, he's got so much personality. He's one of my favorites in terms of personality. Like, he's just a joy to like have him interact with the cast. It's so fun.
if Overwatch characters were real life, I feel like he would be an awesome friend to have.
And that's another thing too, the voice cast. Say what you will about some of the other shit that happens, the voice cast is phenomenal. And in recent years they've been finding some new actors that don't have much work and putting themselves out there with these characters. That's awesome. I look, and we did this in the date everything video in the date everything episode, but like we love Matt Mercer, and Matt Mercer is in this game. He plays a cowboy with a metal arm. We love him, but you can't have Matt Mercer or a person like Matt Mercer voice everybody. We gotta have some new fresh people. We gotta have some new fresh blood. Give other new up and coming actors a new chance to spread their wings and put their work out there. And they've been doing
Yeah.
that with some of their more recent characters. And I love that. I would have never known some of these actors had they not been in this game and not have me actively look out for new projects that they're in because I liked them here.
Hmm.
Hazard's voice actor, that Scottish character I talked about, Connor McLeod, fucking love him. I've seen clips of him in his streams and he's fucking hilarious.
He's the best.
Like, we love you, Connor. You're doing great. Juno's voice actor is Haru in Persona 5. You also have Jennifer Hale, who plays Ash. You probably know her as, again, Everything Under the Sun, but also she voices Thorn in Scooby Doo The Witch's Ghost. The Hex Girls. A lot of people's bi awakening, I can tell you that right now. I love the fact that it's such a diverse cast. And even diverse with even their own identity. You
I think
know,
everyone except for Keith Silverstein, which is Torb's voice actor, is
Mhm.
actually from the country that their character is from.
Mhm. Or it's disguised enough that it's just like Sojourn's voice actress. I don't know if she's actually Canadian, but to most people, Americans and Canadians sound exactly the same, with maybe a handful of differences, so that you can kind of work with that. But Keith Silverstein, Forbes voice actor, you probably know him as Shen in League of Legends. He's also the voice of the clown guy. I do Hisoka. He voices Hisoka in Hunter x Hunter. So you've heard his voice before. Or in some cases, it voices Hawkmoth in Miraculous Ladybug. So there's also that. Again, another actor that is everywhere and we love him.
Yeah.
um, but not even just the identities of their country of origin, but also other aspects of their identity. Overwatch also prides itself on its LGBTQ characters, which again, I feel like at the time of its release wasn't as common. Nowadays, obviously, it's more accepting and you see a lot more characters like that, but I think of its release. Like, everyone was flipping out the fact when Tracer was announced she was a lesbian. The poster child of your game is a lesbian? People were up in arms. They're like,
How
what do you
horrible.
mean?
How horrible.
What I know. Um, and since then, they've released other LGBTQ characters, and I hope they continue to release characters like that because, like you said, if someone can relate to a character because of either the where they come from or how they identify, then that's just another positive for me,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
my book. Even if you want to retroactively be like, this character is actually bisexual the whole time. Um, I don't know. I'm not
A
at a
lot
place
of
to
the
say
a
that.
lot of these characters just feel very flirty with each other, and I
Mhm.
feel like if it came out, I wouldn't be surprised if they were, but also if they don't officially ever say anything about it, then that's fine because you can be fun and flirty without being. That just makes you a normal human being, and any man that's turned off or weirded out by that should just shut up. Or woman, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Every single time we come across a player, which surprisingly has not happened often, considering most of this fan base is at the very least ally or LGBTQ themselves. But we every so often you get somebody who's being homophobic and they're playing soldier and we look at each other and we're like, "Babe, do you know who you're playing right now? Do you not understand the backstory of the character you're currently playing right now?"
I have said this multiple times to Luna that
Mhm.
Overwatch, whenever Pride Month comes around, they just need to give every canonically LGBTQ character a skin with their pride flag and then force the people to wear those skins.
So far they've kept that. They started celebrating Pride, I believe, last year or the year prior, and they have been releasing skins for those characters that have those identities, and I think that's really important. Even if it's just a simple recolor, I think it's still important. Because
Yeah,
yeah, you look at Soldier 76 and you would not immediately think that's a gay man. But also, just because looks don't mean everything. Like you look at Lifeweaver, right? You look at Lifeweaver and you look at that man and you're like, yeah,
he's just an old man who's repressed his feelings.
yeah. You don't have to be gay to have those traits. Let me fucking tell you that. like
What a
I just
concept that a normal human being can also be LGBTQ.
I think that what makes it so interesting too, because I guarantee you, because I've tried and semi succeeded in getting some of my normie friends who don't play games like Overwatch get into it. And when I was introducing the roster to them, I would point out that's a bisexual, that's a lesbian, and they themselves, who are also LGBTQ in whatever way, they're just like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. Like it's just it's an extra added layer, and I think that's really important for a lot of people to really connect with these characters, regardless of how they identify. Which, by the way, yes, you can identify with a character even if you don't necessarily relate to how they identify themselves. You can relate to a character even if you're not from a country of origin or sexual orientation. That is not a one to one. Like, I hope that goes without saying. You can relate to characters that are the same to you and also different in ways
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. And if you're against that, then why are you playing this game? Uninstall.
Yeah. What was it like for you transition wise in terms of like how did you feel for Overwatch 1 to 2? Like when you played both of them like in comparison. The main thing with the rebrand the first time was the switch from 6v6 to 5v5. That was so controversial for a lot of people, but considering I had never played the original 6v6 format at the time before they start bringing it back and then it became a core game mode, I knew the reasons why they did it, and there are still people that debate about it to this day.
I feel like
And there's
back in the day, it wasn't as noticeable that it was harder to play with two tanks. I'm gonna say it wasn't balanced back then, but it felt balanced in a way. But now with the
Mhm.
comparison of the 5v5 versus 6v6, you can definitely feel the difference.
Yeah. But also, neither of us are tank players. We're both support players. And from the footage I've seen from back in the day, you basically were heal botting most of the time during those days. But now with 5v5, supports have more opportunities to make plays that isn't just heal botting,
Yeah,
which I think is really, really nice. But also, a lot of tanks lost a lot of their identity because, they had many sub rules that were kind of like unofficial. Diva, for example, she was an off tank. Her main goal was to go in the back line and kill your supports or kill your squishies, like a Widow or a Tracer, or hell, even a Mercy at times. And meanwhile, the other tank would be actually on the front line tanking all the actual damage, you know? You kind of lose that when you're in 5v5 because now a character that maybe wasn't designed that way now has to fill that role in the way they weren't supposed to. And at times it feels kind of odd. I feel like with the adjustment they've been able to balance it a lot better. And again, with 6v6, everyone has their cake and eat it too, even if there's people that complain about it. But like if you don't like 5v5, you can just go play 6v6. I just
Yeah.
wish that 6v6 had the same level of attention as 5v5 did or does, you know. I wish they had this like if you're going to have both and juggle both, give both of them the same level of attention. But you're never gonna make everybody happy. I think we talked about this before, and if not, I'm saying it here. You can never make gamers happy. There's always gonna be something that gamers are gonna hate and complain about, no matter
Yeah.
what it is. So you kind of can't win. Let's quickly switch gears. Let's go with actual characters in terms of like their play style. Obviously, again, courtesy of DY, we are dressed as our support mains and our mains for basically most like if given the flex role, this would be the thing we would pick. We might as well tell the story as to why we picked these characters and why we main them.
Back in OG Overwatch, so 2016, I played Soldier 76 90% of the time. I don't think I
Mhm,
ever touched support, if I'm being honest, back then. Because
mhm.
back then, like Luna said, support was just being a heal bot. And I never found that interesting because, well, that and also the community back then was awful to supports. They still
Yeah,
are, but
they still kind of are, depending on what circles you're in. But yeah,
I don't think I was in the headspace that I was bisexual back then, but I feel like there's implications about me playing him.
like backwards implications of like, wait, that explains a lot.
He wasn't even confirmed to be that back then either.
No, he was confirmed, like, way later in the like, before Overwatch 2, like, the rebrand, but I don't
Yeah,
remember when they released his it was, like, in a comic or something, I don't remember what year it was released, but it was, like, much later that they, like, retroactively was like, "Ah, nah."
January 7th, 2019.
2019, okay. That's later and also earlier than I thought it was. I thought that was, like, way, like, near the end, but no.
Yeah.
Earlier and later than I thought, okay.
But that being said, when I got to Overwatch 2, I and well, I instantly fell in love with Kiriko because one, I feel like she's fun to play if you know how to play her. And that
Mhm,
also because she was one of the characters that's not a heal bot. And I feel like that
mhm.
because she can be DPS and support at the same time. She can throw her kunais and kill people if need be, but also she can jump around and heal people and teleport. And I think that's what made me enjoy a support role.
Mhm,
Only recently I really got back into playing DPS,
mhm.
but I feel like that's also because I have friends that I play with, and with Luna also being a support, we can queue for both roles, and I know at least I have one reliable support main.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
yeah, many
feels
times.
terrible to say, but sometimes it's true.
Nah, sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's true, and when we're both queued up for DPS, which has been happening more recently, sometimes we're just like, "Oh, please let our healers be good." As healers ourselves or, like, as supports ourselves, like, "Please, please be good." That's all
Yeah.
we ask. Like, make sure you support us and the fact that we may or may not, do good as supports. Um, you might as well go through all of your mains for each role. So if Kiri's like your main support, what is like your other two like top 3 supports and then top 3 DPS and like top 3 tanks?
Yeah.
Whenever
Next
we
would
actively
be
decide.
next is Juno, which also is a movement character, which makes sense because, like I said, I enjoyed Kiriko for that reason. Juno has her jump boots, which help her move around a lot easier and you can get places quicker. So I think
Mhm.
that's the reason I enjoyed her a lot. And then my third support is Alari. Some for some reason, which I only typically play her during defense maps, which is probably what she's best for anyway, because you can just hide the pylon in the line of sight of your team and just fuck off basically.
Yeah.
As long as the other team doesn't find your pylon, which it depends where you put it. I also like the fact that she's basically 50-50 DPS because you can do pretty good damage with her ultimate and her kit, so I don't know.
I know people are gonna hate me for this because my main support is Moira, and I know what you're thinking. Why the fuck would you do this? When I played day one of Overwatch 1 or Overwatch 2, sorry. First of all, when she was revealed in like 2017, some around that time, I thought the concept of this was really cool because I had not seen it in any game prior. And I know this concept has been used already, but this was the first time I had seen it. So I was already intrigued by that. And when Overwatch 2, when it came out in 2022, people forget that heroes in the gallery were locked. You had to play so and so many games to gradually unlock the rest of the cast. And Moira was one of the few you could play day one. So I was like, I guess by association, I got to do this. And it just kind of stuck. I think once again, she's a kind of character that's very mobile, obviously, but she has a lot of shortcomings. She has a lot of kill potential, and a lot of people complain about DPS Moras, as do I, because that is not her main thing. Like, yes, she needs to do damage to heal her team. Like, that's like her main gimmick. But I'm not actively going in the back lines to try to get like a four or like kill the whole team. And I know she doesn't do much for the rest of her team. Like, yeah, she can heal and she has her orbs, and I guess her ultimate can also heal and damage enemy, like heal people and damage. But like, she doesn't have other utility. My second DPS would be Zenyatta, which is such a hard contrast of basically having a character that you don't need to aim for 50% of the time to a character that you absolutely need pinpoint precision. I've always made the excuse, because at this point it's been an excuse, of I can't aim well because I'm on console and I'm not going to get good positioning or whatever because I'm on console. That's clearly, as I've been playing more DPS especially, is not the case.
When she locks in, she does really well.
Yeah. I feel like again, he has a lot of shortcomings. He doesn't have a lot of mobility. He's very slow, but his ultimate is really good. And once again, his Discord orb is very good. And if you can coordinate team fights with that Discord, he can be genuinely terrifying. It's so funny to have the dichotomy of supposedly one of the easiest supports to play and then have one of the hardest supports to play being my top two supports is really funny. My third support recently came up as also Juno. Once again, I like her movement. She has a lot of utility. Um, Other than the fact that I'm playing a character whose actress is a part of one of my favorite games of all time, other than that, I just really like her personality. Juno's such a sweet, innocent, harmless, could not hurt a fly if she tried character,
I have
and
no
I would make
idea
an
what is going on.
"You mean a chicken fried this rice?" It is very cute, it is very fun, and the actress does such a good job. Um, it went it keeps going back and forth for support as Juno and Mercy. Mercy for the longest time was my third played, but once again, that was because when Overwatch 2 came out, limited roster, Mercy was one of them. And I did fall in love with the movement. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of people like Mercy's kit is her movement. I I will say this, I'm not a pro when it comes to your go-to like Mercy mains. It's much harder to do some of these tricks on console than it is on PC,
The
but
fun
she's
thing
still
is that
fun to play.
whenever me and Luna are playing Mercy and we get
Mhm.
one of those risky reses, we're always just laughing at the people. And it's always
Yeah.
just really fun.
It is very funny whenever I can res my tank in the middle of a team fight and nobody on the enemy team realizes and or forgets that
or does
I'm
anything
actively
about it.
doing that. Doesn't even think about it.
Multiple
But
times
yeah,
I've done a res on a tank in front of somebody, and the enemy tank is just standing there, just staring at me. And I've joked about it in the text chat a few times. Been like, you just like staring at shiny things, don't you?
Juno and Mercy have gone back and forth, but it seems that Juno so far has been the third. I think between the both of us, we cover basically the whole support role. The heroes that I'm not super good at, you are, and vice versa. Like I'm pretty decent when it comes to Mizuki and Ana. Um, but you're better with like Alari and Baptiste.
We
Yeah.
can play 90% of the supports fairly well,
Hmm.
and we don't just always stick to the top three. We will just randomly choose one of the other supports at any given time. The only two that I feel like I'm not that competent with is Lucio and Brig, but that's just because I don't want to be a DPS and just go in and smash people with a mace and then also ride around like a maniac.
That's the same thing with me. I don't particularly like Briggs' kit. I think if she's utilized well, she's really good, but I just can't wrap my head around it. And then again, when I'm on console, it's harder to wall ride and do these like crazy tricks that people have been able to do. It's harder to do it on console. Next, a DPS. You have the floor.
My top three DPS is Emre,
Mhm.
which another shooty man. I feel like I like him a lot because he's basically a Call of Duty hero. I played a
I,
lot of
I
Call of Duty growing up.
I've seen a lot of people say he's more Halo based than COD,
Well,
like upon his release.
I think
Yeah.
just with it's the gun and the pistol and the grenade.
Hmm.
So a lot of similarities between the two games, I guess. He's kind of similar, I guess, to Soldier, which because he can do he speeds up whenever he has his siphon, which I like a lot. And then also you can shoot someone and then hit them with a grenade and it ends them. It's the movement thing again, right? I like
Hmm.
characters that have good movement, I guess. And then second is Soldier, which once again, I like the movement ability, and he's just always been my go-to, I guess, with
He's
how
like the
I
de facto. Yeah.
yeah,
He's
how I
he's
explained
the
earlier as well. Not saying that I don't trust the supports, but I do like the because sometimes they're busy with either the tank or the other DPS. So it's nice to have the self healing that you can also kind of run in and be a support DPS as well. My third one is Cassidy, which is interesting because I don't play him that often. But I mean, hey, it's better than nothing because it was Genji. Only because of mischief and magic. That's the only reason why.
one of my characters is in a similar vein. My DPS top 3. Number 1 is Ash, which is the most surprising to me because I again, as console, it is much harder to aim with a sniper than PC is because it's not always super accurate. Um But I found out that I really liked Ash's gameplay was because I was it last year? Last year, I want to say
Yeah,
2025. They had their annual April Fool's Day event, and they always release an April Fool's game mode in the arcade that basically turns these characters' powers, has a fun little twist to them. And Ash's for that year was her robot butler Bob. When she sends it out using her ultimate, the way that it's supposed to work in regular gameplay is she sends him out and Bob will run in the direction you point and he will stop running whenever he collides with a wall or he finds an enemy and throws him up in the air, but he basically stands in place and will basically auto aim and shoot down whoever's in his line of sight. In the April Fool's event, he just kept running. He just kept running, throw someone up, run to another direction, throw somebody up, run in another direction, throw somebody up. He basically did that for his entire duration instead of staying still. And I found that so funny. Just found that so funny because that's the equivalent of ooh piece of candy, ooh piece of candy. That is the exact energy of that. And I was mostly getting kills with it because it was fun. And then once I actually started like using her gun and actually like getting good with her aim, DY would continuously tell me, "No, you're actually good with her." And I was like, "No, Bob's doing all the work." And he's like, "No, no, you're good. You just don't want to admit it to yourself that you actually have good
I was
aim."
literally just about to be like, she will deny it, but she's actually very good at Ash.
Since I've been playing more and more DPS, oh, since that, I've grown more comfortable. And yes, I will admit, I'm not the best Ash. I'm not the best. You're not gonna expect me in high level play, but even just the year of playing her, even if it was more sporadic at first and then it's been more consistent in recent months, I can see the improvement. I love my dynamite perk. It is so useful on console. Thank you, Blizzard, for introducing that. Never take it away, please. I need it.
Now they're gonna get rid of it.
Please don't. Please,
The single
please
person
don't.
said that they like it. Let's get rid of it.
So the fact that my DPS main and my go-to DPS needs like her main thing is aiming and making sure her dynamite is in the vicinity of people so that you can do more damage is just really funny to me. In second place is Sombra. And once again, before anyone says anything, this is in the similar vein of Genji with DY, where when I was playing with my old group of friends, one a thing me and my duo would do was a change that Sombra had previously was she could stay invisible for like eternity essentially until you make yourself visible again. And a lot of times what we would do to um waste time while we were waiting for cues was go into deathmatch, play Sombra, and basically play hide and go seek essentially. I still find her very fun, but I don't utilize her very often.
She's a
I
rage
mostly
character
use
nowadays.
She's a rage character. She's a character that if I get frustrated and I have no one else to play because I don't think I can confidently play most of the DPS roster, she's the one that I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna fuck this wrecking ball up. Let's go." I'm gonna be a
Basically,
torment
whenever
in
the
the
team is being way too oppressive or we need to cap a point, that's when she pulls the Sombra out
Mhm.
because it
I would
makes it easier that way.
in third place, which was Genji once again because of Mischief and Magic, and thank Christ because I cannot play Genji to save my life. Third is Emre. Once again, in the same vein of DY. Sometimes you just need a standard, like, Call of Duty shooter kind of character. Because sometimes Ash isn't the greatest when it comes to up close. Because if I'm having a Tracer or somebody in my backline, it is much easier to deal with her with an Emre rather than an Ash if I don't pick up on it really quickly. So
Well, that
having a
and she's
closer
labeled as a
range character works.
sniper.
Yes. Yeah. She is. Ash is labeled a sniper. But yeah, if she's up close, she's not the greatest in terms of combat, especially because with Ash, you have to manually reload your bullets, which she's the only character to do that. So if I'm low on my bullets and a tracer is coming up to me, like I have to frantically reload and it's not a fun time. So having somebody like Emre in the back pocket of like, okay, this is clearly not working. I need to do more up close damage. He's the go-to.
Luna had said that she doesn't really think that she can play the DPS very well, but I feel like I have a kind of better grasp on it. At least 90% of them I can play competently if I need to.
Mhm. Last category here is tank, a role that we do not play a whole lot, but you play more than I do.
My number one tank is apparently Sigma. I feel like Sigma and Ramatra are tied, but
Mhm.
everyone else always says that my Sigma is better, but
It is. You play Sigma more often, so I see that gameplay more, and I do agree.
I enjoy his because he can throw his shield out as far as he wants to. His weapon is just little balls that you throw at people, which I think is really funny. And then also the rock
The
is a
rock, the
good
rock that gets
deter.
lunged at you.
It's a good deterrer if someone's all up in your face. Especially
Mhm.
it's especially a good stopper if your supports or your DPS are being hounded. You can just throw the rock at them and they'll be like, stop. I also like his ultimate because he just grabs a bunch of people and throws them up in the air and then throws them back down. Then my next is Ramatra, like I stated. He has two forms. In his first form, he has a staff, which he shoots at people. And then he also
Mhm.
has a second form where he goes into one punch man mode and he just punches people.
Yeah. His very,
um,
punchy boy arms, yeah.
yeah. And his ultimate is grape flavored, and that's all you need to know.
It's
But he
basically the
has
inverse of yeah,
he has
it's the
life
inverse
steal
of Zenyatta.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, like, a good way of putting it. It's not, like, anti-healed or anything, but it's just a ring of like, energy around him, and if he walks towards you long enough, he'll just kill you by his aura. Just
He aura farmed. He
it's
is
the opposite of Zenyatta, which I'm actually
he
really
is a cult
happy
leader basically. So
he
that's not
was. He's a
ninety
former
percent
cult
of
leader.
90% of the time cult leaders just aura farm.
I do like that his ultimate is a direct opposite to Zenyatta, who was his mentor in the Shambhala monastery. I like the fact that there's the inverse of that already.
Yeah,
Because Zenyatta's ult is a ring of an aura of healing that if you're in the vicinity, you get healed. Ramadra's is the opposite. If you're in that ring, you get damaged until you die.
yeah.
So I like that there's that story contrast. I really like that. It's a good storytelling.
Ramatra just was like, you know what? I'm going to copy him, but instead make it lifesteal.
Yeah.
Um, and then my next is, I guess, Diva, technically, because I'm not saying she's. I feel like Luna, because Luna's is also Diva, but
Mhm.
I feel like she's one of the easier tanks to play
Y mhm.
because she has her big shield that she can just use pretty infinitely, and then guns, and then movement ability. You pretty much just have everything that all like she's kind of without being support, she's kind of DPS and tank at the same time because you can
Mhm.
run away if you need to, but you can also just sit there and shoot people, which I like with her. But also, I played Overwatch Classic whenever the anniversary event was out, and I played Reinhardt a lot. And I was like, I kind of feel like I would be a Reinhardt main back then if I had played Reinhardt. And I've started playing him more recently, and I feel like when I do play him, I feel like Reinhardt would be a top contender for my tank games.
My top tank is Diva, and again, I understand why she is considered the easiest. I remember seeing her gameplay back when the game launched, and she was the tank that stuck out to me because I like the fact that she has mobility. I like that she has infinite ammo, so I never have to worry about that shit. And she's just like I'm looking at characters like Roadhog, for example, where you basically center around your hook. When your hook is on cooldown, you basically can't fucking do anything. Basically. And I don't like that. I don't like having a character's kit center around one specific thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, she just feels the best to play. And I figured this out that she would probably be my tank main, other than prior knowledge, was I was in a Mystery Heroes lobby. a few years ago, and I was tasked on Diva as my first character that got picked. And I got a 4 stack kill, or I got a 4-person kill. And immediately I was like, yep, that's my tank main now. That solidifies it, and it has stuck ever since. Next is Orisa, which we by we I mean DY and our friend group, we just call her the horse because that's just what she is. She's we love our raid boss horse. Um I do not play tank. Like Diva is like a pretty decent level, I'd say, in comparison to the rest of my roster that I play. Um but I will like pick her kind of no matter what. Like that's the go-to because that's the one I know how to do best. Orisa and Ramatra, who is my third most played tank, they're kind of like I only play them because I have nothing else to work with. Whenever someone picks a Zarya, because everyone always picks a Zarya because they know that's my counter, I just go ahead and play the horse or I play Ramatra because that's the ones I can like kind of like smash buttons enough that it kind of works.
Similar to Sombra,
Ramatra,
she's the she Orisa and Ramatra are the rage tanks that she plays.
yeah, or like the last ditch effort ones, yeah. But yeah, I will pick Diva amongst everything else on the tank whenever I do decide to play it, which is not very often. I like to be able to play more tanks, and with new tanks that have released and soon to be released, like Domina, for example, she's probably a lot of people didn't like how she's like standing based around her shield and then she'll move and then place her shield again. But you can make an argument that's Sigma and to some extent Reinhardt as well.
Yeah,
So I would feel like if I played tank more often than not, Domina probably would be up there too. Just because
well,
again,
that
I like
Domina's just really fun too.
yeah, she's probably the my favorite of the poke tanks for sure.
That being said, I feel like tank is the only one I'm not confident about doing. Like I
Mhm.
said with the previous two roles, damage and support, I feel like I can competently play at least 90% of them. But I feel like
Mhm.
tank is just going to be those four, plus maybe Domina. Luna and I were doing a challenge actually recently where we play every hero until we win.
Yeah,
So,
until we win. That was the only criteria. I found this challenge because of a content creator. I do not remember her name, but I would like to shout her out. But she basically did it where every video was a whole role. So she did all the supports in one video. She did all the DPS and tanks in their own separate ones. And I thought that was pretty interesting because that was a way for us to not only play other characters, but also maybe find characters that we would have never touched had we not at least tried them. And I thought that was really interesting. And it was actually really fun, all things considered. But within this challenge, I have refused to play the tank one because there's tanks that I know I'm going to be bad at and I'm going to be flamed for. Because 9 times out of 10, quick play feels like competitive, and I can't even play a character I've never played before to try them out.
I learned very easily that some of the tanks just aren't for me. Like, for example, Roadhog. I've watched videos on how to do it, I've tried to learn it, but I cannot grasp the hook grab and then like the insta kill. Like, I cannot
Mhm.
figure out how to do it for the life of me.
No, it's the same thing. I've looked at gameplay and I'm like, you hook, which there are two different types of hooks. So you hook, pull, you shoot, and then you can melee. But is it like animation canceling or something? I also wouldn't know. And I'm very scared to do that, especially being a woman, like a cisgendered woman. If I ever had the chance, which I never do, thankfully, but if I ever had the chance and was forced to speak in that game chat, um, it I would get flamed worse than I probably already would had
Mhm.
it not be left for like other like gameplay external factors. Like it is very like despite Overwatch having a massive cast as well as a lot more LGBTQ and just femme presenting people, not just women, but others in that category, if you want to call it that, more than ever, that I'm just like, I need to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Because I have a distinct memory of when I was playing solo. I remember one quick play match where I don't remember which support I was originally on, but I didn't have a microphone, but I did have speakers on at the time, and my teammates were like, "Hey, this isn't working. Maybe you should go play Lucio." And I, being a team player, decided to do that even though I had not played much Lucio prior. We lost that match, and I practically got flamed for it, even though they were the one that suggested I switch.
Yeah.
And that basically left such a bad taste in my mouth. If I had the ability to speak, if I actually had a microphone at the time, I would just get flamed more. If I like said something and be like, "Well, you told me to switch and that was a bad idea. I decided to be a team player. Sorry, my bad. I'm not good at the character." I would have got flamed so hard for it.
Mhm.
And that's not great. It's
That's
gotten
the
better.
unfortunality of being a woman in gaming. But it has gotten better.
Yeah, but then in other aspects, it's gotten worse. Amount of rampant misogyny is fucking insane to me.
Well,
Um,
that and just the stereotype that women can only play the supports.
yeah. Like, there's been a couple of times where people have flamed you, because again, we're never in team chat. We're always in our own like group chat, in the game. But anytime I see people flaming you because you're playing Mercy or something like that, then I'm like, would they have that same reaction if they knew you are a male or you identify as male? Like, would they have the
Yeah.
same reaction? Or would they have a different reaction if I was playing Mercy? Clearly having a more feminine, like, username and, like, and having some stereotypical, like, "Oh, of course you play that character. Of course you have this skin," and whatever. Again, we wanna say this, you don't have to be a certain thing or identify as a certain thing to play a character. That's not a requirement. You can be the manliest man in the world and you can play Mercy. That's totally fine. No one's gonna judge you. No one's gonna call you anything. It's just don't
At least
listen
we
to those
won't.
people.
We won't call you anything.
Yes.
We'll just say
Yeah.
slay and be like, "Cool, you got this."
Yeah. A good example of this actually, a former Owl player for Overwatch League, one that was still around, Apply, who is currently a Twitch streamer. I think he always was, but since transitioning from a pro player to doing this, still plays Overwatch, still really high ranked, still doing well for himself. He had a whole series where he tried to learn Mercy and get her to Grandmaster. He made up a whole persona of this girl, playing Mercy. And let me tell you, every single time anybody was like, "Apply, why are you playing Mercy?" They're like, "Does that mean something?" And he's like, "Dude, just go with the role play. You're ruining the moment. Let me slay." And I love that. And that, to my knowledge, applies in a straight relationship. I don't know if that necessarily means he's only, but he's with a woman. So the fact that he's just like, I'm gonna be playing on my playlist, I'm gonna be playing things like Lady Gaga. I'm gonna be playing like Ariana Grande and other like girls in that like realm, and going ahead and being the slayest of slays all mercies while also being like, again, he's not like dressing up or anything. He's not putting on makeup. He wasn't even in the voice chat. He was just typing what he was saying to his teammates. And again, he was just in it because he wanted to create basically an alter ego or like a persona. And anytime that anybody was like, "Dude, why are you doing that?" Or like, "Isn't that like, does that mean something?" And he's like, "No, it's just for funsies. Shut the fuck up." And I love that. He genuinely wanted to learn uh Mercy because again, he's a DPS player. Like that's what his main thing is. So for him to be like, I can see why I'm going to do this challenge and I'm going to slay at it. And you know what? Everybody played into it and everybody loved it, and every single time people are like, when is she coming back? When is Blossom coming back? Like It
The
like
moral of
people
the
want to.
story is to have whimsy in your life.
Yeah, that's basically it. He was basically riding on whimsy. Anytime people would talk shit about it, he was just like, "You have no whimsy in your life. Like, let me jam to my Lady Gaga and you can shut the fuck up." And I love that. There's a whole series of him documenting it on his YouTube channel if you want to go check it out. Again, this is Overwatch. This is a game where fucking robots can talk and have their own emotions. This is a game where a gorilla and a hamster came from the moon. Have some whimsy in your life. But I think that roughly about wraps it up, at least this first Overwatch episode. We have so much to talk about this game. We figure we might as well do just a generalization and kind of, I guess, set the scene because we have so much more to talk about.
Yes.
And
And
I,
with it being an ongoing game as well, we'll have even more to talk about.
yeah, the as of recording this, the new season dropped a little, almost a week ago, couple days ago. So
Season
we'll
3.
definitely make some season 3. Yeah. They rebranded to season 3. It's really episode like season 23. I don't know. It's confusing. Don't worry about it. We will we'll probably do something for our first impressions of the season. We'll probably do something for mid-season, all that jazz. And we're always going to find, we got a new character that was released. We got a new map that I really like. I actually really like the new map.
Yes.
But we'll have so much to talk about. If this game continues to keep going, we're gonna continue to talk about it. The goods, the bads, the highs, and the lows, and the what the fuck are we doing here, Blizzard? We'll have no shortage of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening and or watching. All of our socials, if you wish to follow us on other social media platforms, they're linked everywheres. Um, Feel free to, do all the things, comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and
Let
we
us
will
know your
see
favorite
you.
Overwatch heroes and your mains. We would love to know.
Yeah, give us your backstory.
I hope you enjoyed our little discussion about Overwatch. As we said, there will be a lot more to discuss as the time continues with Overwatch. But until next time, this has been Dysfunctional.